Recently I was invited to take part in the YouTube Bloggers Match 2020. The lake chosen for this to take place was Big Hayes at Todber Manor Fisheries. I was paired up with the one and only Stuart Harris,
Oh, I can see myself and everything.
aka the Sweetcorn Kid. The aim of the match was to catch the biggest carp, and that pair would win the match. However, it was very much more about the social than it was the fishing, meeting like-minded people, sharing stories and making friends. In the draw we had pulled out section 4, which gave us a nice corner of the lake to go at. Stu and I decided to flip a coin to see which swim we would each fish for the 48 hours, as we were unable to make the most of our allocated water fishing out of the same swim. Stu won the toss and chose a swim that had more open water and a point of an island. This meant I had the swim with the island directly in front of me and a nice reedy bay to my right hand side. About 30 minutes into the match, Stu spotted a big common cruising under his feet as he was sorting his rods out. This prompted him to set up an Avon rod and a centre pin and try free lining 2 dog biscuits in his margin. Just as he had got the rod ready, a big mirror was sat in his margin no further than 2 feet from the bank. As the dog biscuits just touched the surface, the big mirror came up and took them without any hesitation. This was the first fish of the match and it was an absolute gem.
Not really that bothered about the weight, but I will weigh it just in case. Just in case it's a 20 pounder, I think it is. Yeah, we're off the mark, chuffed a bit, pressure's off, I can have a sighting now.
Good afternoon and welcome to the YouTube Bloggers Match 2020. We've had some action already, we've had the rods out for a couple hours now, we've been set up, got the spots that we want to be fishing. Lo and behold, Stuart Harris, aka the Sweetcorn Kid, my partner, has just gone out and stalked one out the margins on free line dog biscuits, literally under the rod tip with a centre pin. It was absolutely great action, and that was a 25 pounder, so first fish of the match, and it looks like we're in the lead. I've just lost one on my left hand rod, went running to get the rod, but it's gone behind some sort of snag or debris in the water and unfortunately lost it, but it's looking good for a few fish, that's for sure. I was using solid PVA bags on both rods, with CC Moore NS1 dumbbell wafters as a hook bait on one rod and a Pacific tuna wafter on the other. Once the rods were back out, it was time to sit back and relax for the rest of the afternoon. As the evening approached, both Stu and I decided to spot some bait over our rods. I chose just to spot over one rod, which was the spot on the island, just to see how they would react to bait and not put all my eggs in one basket on the heavy bait and approach. So we're just coming into the first evening, and I thought I'd give you a little bit of an update on how it's going so far. Me and Stu think the fish have just pushed off of our swims at the moment. We haven't seen too much activity, and the guys on the other side of the lake and to the far bay have just started to catch a few fish. I've actually made a decision to only fish in 2 rods anyway, that's the rules of the match. My right hand rod, instead of having both rods out on the island, I've decided that that's gone over to a solid PVA bag as well, using the pink NS1 wafters, the dumbbells, and I've stuck that out towards as a pellet feeder on my right hand margin, and it's ever so often it's obviously on a timer, just letting a few pellets out. So I've stuck my right hand rod out to that, hoping that that's going to be a bit of a hot spot for the carp to come in and they're going to be used to feeding around. So that's the thinking anyway, so that's going to be there overnight. And then my left hand rod I've got out on the far island, pretty much where I lost that fish earlier. I'm going to keep it in the same sort of spot. I've just moved it to about 5-10 yards to the left, just out, so it's not anywhere near that snag, so at least I can get to it, give it a bit of welly and hopefully pull it away from that snag. But that's the plan going into the night. Hopefully we can get a fish on the bank. Well, there we are, first fish for me, just going into darkness, £19.6, and we're off the mark at the YouTube bloggers match. Get in. Lovely fish. And there's the other side, absolute stunner. What a result. Well, it's the first morning of the match and it's been a pretty good result for me. I didn't think it was going to happen last night, just didn't see any sign of activity, but about 2 hours after dark I had that lovely mirror carp, 19.6. I'm absolutely over the moon to be off the mark. Hopefully going to get a few more. The aim of today is to try and get Stu his first zig caught carp, so I'm going to be moving up into his swim for the day period, and we're going to be spodding out some sloppy mix, getting the zigs up 3 or 4 foot in the water just below the surface, and hopefully we can get some more carp like that. The zig fishing ended up being a bit tougher than expected. Not many fish were showing in front of our swim, and after a few hours of spodding and playing around with different depth zigs, Stu's rod burst into life and he was attached to a very hard fighting fish.
So my first fish on a zig isn't even a carp. It is an oofing great catfish. It's a 24-pound 2-ounce catfish. Couldn't make it up, could you? What a battle that was. So there you go. There's another fish on the bank. Get the zigs back out.
Well, me and Stu have given it a proper good go with the zigs for the last few hours, trying to get Stu his first caught zig caught fish, and he's managed to do it, but unfortunately for him it was a nice slippery slimy catfish. Good fish, 24, I believe it was 24.2, 24.4, so a really good fish, and quite envious actually because it did put up a good scrap. But I'm going back in my own swim. I haven't seen enough really out in that open water swim to say that that's the right spot to be, so I've had a fish off the pellet feeder. I'm going to put another solid bag down there with a wafter, Pacific tuna wafter, and I think I'm going to head back out to the island. Might come a foot off the island this time with another solid bag, so hopefully we'll get a few more fish.
Stu continued to persevere with the zigs, and he ended up hooking and landing another catfish, this one being about half the size of the first one he managed to catch. I ended up recasting the rods on a few occasions to see if I could locate any fish in my particular area. Unfortunately nothing materialised, and before I knew it, it was time to head round the lake for a social barbecue with the rest of the guys fishing the match. Plenty of good food was on offer, and it was nice to spend time with like-minded people who share the same interests. After the barbecue, we all headed back to our swims to get the rods out for the night, and it ended up being one beautiful sunset.
just got back from the social barbecue and the heat has absolutely got to me. I'm absolutely exhausted. I had a few ciders earlier on. I had a nice couple of burgers. Going to get the rods back out for the night. Just got here just before dark because it is going to be just want to make sure that the rod's spot on for tonight, and I want to make sure the rod's spot on down by that feeder. And like last night, I had a bite about an hour after dark, so I want to be down here for bite time to maximise my chances of getting enough of carp. So without further ado, let's get the rods out. Well, there we go, what a fish. 32 pounds, 6 ounce catfish and a brand new personal best. And it's a carp match, but it certainly is the biggest fish of the session so far. And what a fish. Gave me a mega scrap on the right hand rod towards the pellet feeder. And at a point I thought I've either hooked one big carp or an absolute steam train of a catfish. And what a fish that is. Gave me a right good scrap. Right, let's slip her back. Well, it's the final morning of the match, and after that catfish I got the rods back out. Both went down lovely, but unfortunately they've remained pretty much motionless. But there has been a bit of late drama according to the group chat. I think Dan on the far side of the bank, Joe, up until now Joe's been in the lead with a 30 pounder, 30 pound 6 ounce, but Dan's just had a 32 pounder apparently, 31 pounder, something around that. So it looks like he's taken the lead right at the death, but I'm just happy to have that 32.6 catfish. That's a new PB for me. So what I'm going to do now is slowly pack away the gear because we're meeting around the other side of 10 o'clock and hopefully we can get ourselves another one.
Unfortunately, enough of fish was not meant to be, so I ended up reeling the rods in and making my way round to meet the rest of the guys for the trophy presentation. What a weekend it was. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Until the next time, I'll catch you later.